Oh boy, you guys, it's Meta Knight episode. Y'all know this is gonna go on for 40 minutes. Alright, let's start this episode off right with the Corey being a massive flipping prick. There he goes. Being the worst. Worst character 2003, or whenever this was made. Once that's done with, Tiff has something to tell Kirby, but they get this minor character to cut in and deliver the news that Tiff was just gonna tell Kirby anyway. Interesting time filler. I don't know why Nintendo had to send Kirby his invitation to be in the next Smash Brothers. He's been in there since the N64 days, and if Sakurai is still at the wheel, of course he'll be in it. He'll probably add Mark's GUI and bandana Waddle Dee while he's at it, which I have no objection to. Turns out, actually, Meta Knight sent Kirby a letter by proper mail, waiting assumably days instead of just driving the 2 miles to put it in the mailbox himself. In addition to that, Meta Knight is well aware Kirby could not read, so this whole thing was just a practice in futility. The letter says that Meta Knight is a fellow Star Warrior is requesting a battle with Kirby. Kirby's excited because Meta Knight battles are always really fun, and at the end, when you beat him, his mask pops off and you get to see his adorable face, then he runs off because, he's self-conscious about how adorable he is. That doesn't happen. But they tell him to shut up with that excitement that an experienced warrior sees him as an equal and wants to have a seemingly friendly battle with him. I assume it's friendly. Why else would he go through the trouble of sending a nicely worded letter? Apparently, Meta Knight challenging Kirby is going around town like gossip, even though there's been nothing to establish that this would be something of a hot topic for people to even be concerned about. Is Meta Knight a respected member of society, and it's surprising he would request to fight a child? Is he a mysterious hermit, and this is out of character for him, and that's why it's worthy of chattering about? We don't know anything about what the Cappies think of Meta Knight, so why is hearing their opinions relevant? Why are they invested? We'll never know.
And where's Kirby now?
Tiff and Tuff took Kirby to Kaboo Canyon.
Oh, it's for a scene transition. I'm sorry. I looked way more into that than I really should have. It was foolish of me to expect this show such as this to establish a community's opinion on an important character that they're talking about. Tiff and the gang take Kirby to Kaboo Valley to hide him. Tiff tells him that Meta Knight only challenged him because King Dedede told him to, and Meta Knight's gotta follow orders working for him and whatnot. We see this in a flashback where Meta Knight straight up calls King Dedede out to his face about him ordering monsters.
If you want to eliminate him, why don't you order another one of your monsters?
Monsters? What makes you think I've been ordering monsters?
Oh, I don't know, the fact that you admitted it right in front of me, the events of the previous episode, the fact that I've lived here for an undisclosed number of years working for you. You're not exactly a quiet, private person, Your Majesty. Like, King Dedede thinks he can just shout things and then deny them and never face any consequences for any of his political wrongdoings, making this depressingly realistic. Either way, they threaten Meta Knight with committing treason if he doesn't fight Kirby.
Listen, mister, if you're in cahoots with this Kirby, that's treason.
Treason?
I want you all to remember that. The show acts like I can't read the emotion in his voice, and it's going to be a big surprise at the end when Meta Knight is actually on Kirby's side, and he agrees. They tell Kirby to hide, but Meta Knight's Kirby homing radar found them. Just like, I thought you were on Kirby's side. And Meta Knight tells them that his standing is ambiguous sometimes. If Kirby gets in his way, he acts accordingly. If Dreamland is in trouble, he'll assist Kirby with saving it, which has been happening a lot lately, actually. Tuff complains that they overheard him saying he'll get rid of Kirby. It's like, kid, shut the hell up. You heard that whole conversation. You heard Meta Knight objecting. Remember that whole fight him or we'll try you for treason thing? Read the room, kids. So the duel begins and it's mostly Meta Knight smacking Kirby around. Like, you can tell it's Friday. He just wants to go home, watch a movie, cash his paycheck, and smacking Kirby around is just the fastest way to do that. Tiff tells Kirby to try to suck up Meta Knight, but that doesn't work, and Meta Knight tells him that that only works in Super Smash Brothers, and then goes on a rant about how he's banned from tournaments because a bunch of whining gamer boys were bad at maining Sonic. I'm gonna get yelled at for that. Otherwise, it's ineffective because they're obviously the same species, and like, I don't know, maybe others of Kirby's species are immune to the sucking ability. Let's not give an answer to this ever. Again, 100 episodes. Tiff then asked Meta Knight how he could ever do this to poor little Kirby. Look, Tiff, you were there. You saw me. Do you want me to get executed for treason? Is that what you want? For me to be dead? Won't that be fun? That means Meta Knight is now dead and no one there is around to tell me what copy ability Kirby has this week. Or save you when you're in over your heads like the bunch of idiots you are. I fought in the goddamn war, and maybe when you have to slash your best friend's throat because they were possessed by the enemy and it was the only way to end their suffering, you'll understand that sometimes you can't always do what is morally right for the people you love, and you just have to do the horrible and stupid things that keep you from being sliced in half by King Dedede's guillotine. Understand? Good. Now let's finish this so we can all go the fuck home. Meta Knight makes it a little bit of a fair fight by offering Kirby a sword, which is true to the game, and I like that. However, unlike the game where just touching it gives Kirby the sword ability, in this one he has to physically swallow it. Eat the sword, Kirby. Eat it. Eat the sword, Kirby. You know you have a copy ability. Eat the sword. Instead, Kirby does this thing that will become a Meta Knight Smash Brothers move, and I'm talking about Smash Brothers a lot in this episode. And then gets buried in rocks. And Dedede and Escargoon determine Kirby's weakness is that he ain't no good with a sword. That is an interesting takeaway. He's a baby. Put anything in his nubby hands and you won't be good with it. Hey guys, turns out Kirby's weakness is that he can't draw good with crayons. Meta Knight's like, oh my god, can you just pretend to be unconscious so I can go home? I am not getting paid overtime for this. Meta Knight even starts giving him pointers, like how to channel a sword beam, assumably in the vain hope Kirby will be the one to knock him out and he gets an even better reason to go home. But Kirby gets, like, bored and falls asleep, dragging this duel out to its 14th hour. Meta Knight's like, oh, what do I do? Does this count? Did I beat him? Do I have to kill him? Screw it, whatever happens, happens. But then rocks fall again, and Tiff and all of them get Kirby away. And I want to point out that Meta Knight helped out here. You all saw it. Read the room. Cut to Dedede. Says he needs a monster that's good with a sword. Cool, there's a bunch of Kirby enemies that give you the sword ability, and it's Bugsy, the mini-boss that never has swords and gives you the throw ability. Honestly, though, they used up all their sword guys, giving them to Meta Knight as his henchmen. Any other sword ability havers didn't come in until the game was made after this anime. I guess they just kind of wrote themselves into a corner. I'll allow it. This is better if you just pretend that this is someone's first AU fanfic and they're trying their best. Okay, so Bugsy's a swords guy in this fic, and Meta Knight is no longer a lone swordsman, but instead a hardened war veteran whose mask shall never break off and you'll never get to see his adorable face. And I guess he lost his bat wings in the war or something. Anyway, so Meta Knight, Sword and Blade are out looking for Kirby, and Tiff overhears them discussing what anyone with critical thinking skills would have guessed from Meta Knight giving Kirby all those pointers would know, that Meta Knight was trying to teach Kirby how to use a sword, and how Star Warriors and Hylians can use the sword beam.
With a little more time, you could have taught Kirby to master the sword beam.
Boy, Tough, this is real confusing.
My god, Tiff, if only you had two brain cells to rub together, maybe you could have figured that out. Meta Knight can intuit things. Look, he figured out that Dedede would have the dumb idea of ordering a sword guy.
And now I fear King Dedede will order a monster skilled in swordplay.
And he had figured out in a previous episode that the octopus took over his mind. Meta Knight's worried that Kirby's gonna get cut, and Tiff and Tough are so surprised that the guy who is on their side that was threatened with treason if he didn't duel Kirby is actually on their side. What a plot twist. But hold on, it's backstory time. Fucking sit down for this. Tiff talks to Kaboo, who tells her about Nightmare Enterprises. He says Nightmare wants to take over the entire universe, which honestly seems super ambitious for a first evil outing, but go big or go home, I guess. He explains that he's the guy selling monsters to people like Dedede. Apparently, this guy made a monster that wouldn't follow his orders for some unexplained reason, and Nightmare is afraid that it will overthrow and kill him. Nightmare's that ass that throws the checkerboard when he's losing. Tiff just guesses that this monster has to be Kirby. Couldn't tell that Meta Knight was actually trying to teach Kirby swordplay, but can figure out that this monster was Kirby with very little or vague information. Okay. However, that is not confirmed. Caboose says it's only the likely explanation, as not even he, the all-knowing minor character and host of Legends of the Hidden Temple, knows for sure. I have a theory. Can I share my theory? I'm going to share my theory. I think this monster wasn't Kirby. I think it was Meta Knight. Look, he's got a sword, he's actively defying him, while Kirby's just a little baby, and as established, ain't no good with a sword, and probably wouldn't actively put up a fight. Meta Knight only looks like Kirby in this flashback because Kirby, I think, is what his species looks like when they're babies. And as we know from the games, Meta Knight and Kirby are of the same race. So maybe when they're children, they're pink and squishy and only have, like, little nubs and no hands. And, like, maybe Meta Knight wasn't even a monster. Maybe they turned him into one, like, with characters we'll see later on in the series. But Meta Knight's willpower was so strong, he actively defied Nightmare. Like, Kaboo doesn't just know this because he knows everything. He knows it because Meta Knight told him. Meta Knight might have rephrased things and wanting to keep him being the monster that rebelled a secret, and instead told him that it was Kirby. And the reason he knew all about Kirby before he arrived is because Kirby is his clone, and he's the one who made him and sent him off on the starship, so there would be a young, strong warrior to beat Nightmare when the time came, since Meta Knight's, like, he was the only survivor of the war, so that he knew he was the strongest one, so he knew if anyone was gonna beat him, it was him, but he was, like, old and probably has a lot of war injuries, so he needed a fresh, young, new him to beat Nightmare. This is all really a hypothesis, because my theory is never confirmed, because this is never brought up again in any meaningful way. Like, they just shrug Kirby possibly being a Nightmare Enterprises creation off like it's nothing special. They just say, thanks for the information, Kaboo, and go on with their day. You kids just found out that your best friend might be a monster. This is like if when Luke found out he was Darth Vader's son, it was just something Obi-Wan told him in the first half hour of A New Hope, and Luke was like, thanks for the information, Ben, and then it just never came up again in any of the movies as anything important. Now, hold on. It's not like Obi-Wan telling Luke that. No, it's like Obi-Wan telling C-3PO that, because Kirby wasn't even present for this exchange revealing that he could be an enemy creation, so why would Luke be present to know that he was Darth Vader's creation? Okay, back to being a dumb riff show, not a subpar critical analysis show. DDD and Escargoon are taking Bugsy back to Kaboo Valley. Fight time, I guess. AU Fick Bugsy starts trying to kill him with swords instead of throwing him. Meta Knight wants to know what the hell's up with Bugsy because he thought he was the one that was supposed to duel with Kirby, and is now pissed because he was just being used and absolutely isn't getting paid overtime for this. Even if he's on salary and will just get off Monday, he's just kind of angry that he was used like a pawn to find out Kirby's strangely specific weakness and figure out which monster to order. Which isn't even a monster that's supposed to use. So, they give Kirby the same advice you'd give the new girl at the Vegas show if she wants to keep her job for more than a week. Start sucking. But Bugsy is too big and cannot be sucked, as we learned from the last episode. Did you guys forget? Tiff and Tuff have no other ideas other than sucking. Meta Knight reminds them to use their goddamn brains, so they tell Kirby to eat the damn sword. Kirby's magic, so instead of his throat and stomach being torn to shit, he gains the sword copy ability. Hooray! And this show would like you to think that maybe Meta Knight's advice paid off, but we all know Kirby's copy ability just makes him an instant expert at anything, so you're not fooling anyone. Oh my god, I've babbled too much about theories and nerd rage in this episode. I should really wrap this up. So, Kirby fights Bugsy in a way that's totally not phallic. I'd say this was too easy a joke, but my last episode and a lot of this episode has been nothing but sucking jokes. You're not gonna find high art here, guys, sorry. Kirby falls asleep to regain energy, and now that he has a full hearts bar, he can do a sword beam, and Kirby's body count is now at 3. Everyone was apparently watching because toddlers fighting is apparently very entertaining. I can't deny that. Meta Knight gets absolutely sick of all this crap and does what everyone wished they could, kick their boss's car down a steep hill. Tiff gets weirdly mad because Meta Knight's moral ambiguity makes her head hurt, and she still can't read the goddamn room and see that Meta Knight is siding with them despite literally everything he's done for the past 3 episodes. They don't even understand obvious sarcasm.
I am a loyal subject of the king. Why would I help Kirby?
That's just what we're trying to figure out.
Their IQ is like 5, right? Combined? Oh my god, okay. Tiff wants Meta Knight to tell her more about Nightmare Enterprises, and Meta Knight is like, someday. Someday is the next episode, by the way. Oh my god, holy shit. Okay, you know, I was a little mean in this one, but I actually kind of dig this episode because it's a Meta Knight episode, and he's my anime husbando. But it's like when you watch it scene for scene and really pay attention, Tiff and Tuff are like the dumbest characters to assumably not be intentionally written as stupid. There's this pointless scene of Lolo and Lala holding up Kirby triumphantly for nobody. The end. The moral is don't give Bugsy swords or I apparently lose my goddamn mind. Okay, bye. Keep your stance wide, keep your body lowered. As you're moving forward, balance is the key. Right foot, left foot, now go even faster. And as you're moving backwards, keep your eyes on me.
But you're not big or heavy, Meta Knight.
Hey, you don't know me.